There are some things I'll take a chance on, but life is already enough of a gamble for me to put my whole nest egg in the share market. So I take a calmer path. By investing in private credit, I know my money could be growing, not yo-yoing.
From Barangaroo Studios, the AusBiz COB is the key stuff you need to know about the day in business and finance.
All right, welcome to the COB. Gremlins getting the better of us today, but we are back and we are going to talk you through the close. I'm Juliette Sarli. Great to have your company on this record-breaking day for the local share market. Let's see where we finished up on the CBO 200 as the ASX 200 pushed through 9,000 points for the first time. The CBO 200 there up by 1.1%, a much stronger session than was expected today, and quite interesting that investors are taking on a lot of this risk ahead of the key Jackson Hole symposium, but we will take a win where we get it. So let's get to the three themes of the day, and of course it's over 9,000. A lot of people didn't think that they would see this level on the ASX 200 this soon, but that's where we are. Whether or not we hold at these levels or we see pushback coming through in the coming days remains to be seen, but a very encouraging sign that the bulls are very much in charge at the moment, and that's on the back of some earnings extravaganza. We're going to get into those earnings shortly with our guest Nathan Somasundaram from Deep Data Analytics, but some really solid results coming through today. And of course, symposium signals. It's all about Jackson Hole, Wyoming taking center stage. US Federal Reserve Chair Jay Powell's highly anticipated speech, really just in terms of what sort of magnitude we may get in terms of a rate cut from the Fed. But of course, this is the big central banker powwow happening in Wyoming. And as I mentioned, quite interesting. Investors are taking on so much risk ahead of that. Let's get into the sectors of the day though, and really led by industrials today on the back of Brambles. Have a look at that, a 13% pop in the wake of its results, closing at $26.18. Energy stocks also looking really solid today. If we flip the board and have a look at the energy sector, Santos, I had a great chat to Nick Sproats from Harvest Lane Management earlier, talking about whether or not that takeover is going to go through. Nevertheless, we did see global oil prices rise overnight on a bigger than expected weekly drop in US crude inventories, and all of the energy stocks looking very solid today. The only sector that was in the red today was the REITs, and that was really dragged lower by Goodman Group after its result down 2.3%. Brambles, though, as I mentioned, lifting its full year profit by 10% and announcing a $400 million share buyback. We were also looking at Northern Star Resources boosting its payout to shareholders with a 37% dividend increase. And this is off the back of record gold prices, which pushed its profit to a record. Whitehaven Coal, look, shares were up 3% despite a 57% drop in annual profit. That was weighed down by subdued underlying coal prices and higher cost of sales. Bega had a good session, up 8%. It says its bulk commodities business has returned to profit. But heading the other way, have a look at this. IPH down 20%. So it led losses on the ASX 200, and that's after it flagged a drop in US patent filings. Quick look at some of the other stocks in focus. Codan up 11%, a record high after its results. Charter Hall hitting a record high after its profit. Super Retail hitting a record high after its strong start to full year 26. And Megaport among some of the losers on an earnings miss. Morningstar, meanwhile, cutting its fair value estimate for James Hardie on its bleak forecast, which of course rattled investors yesterday. Let's get into the numbers though and join Nathan Somasundaram from Deep Data Analytics. And Nathan, I'm sort of sounding like a broken record with all these stocks and indexes hitting record highs. Does it make you nervous?
Yeah, look, I think everyone's a winner at the moment, so no one's going to complain. It doesn't matter whether you're bullish or bearish, whatever sector you're in, a lot of sectors are doing well. I mean, banks have reported no growth, and even the bad banks are hitting all-time highs. Yeah, it's up there, so enjoy the ride and manage your risk. That's the best we can do.
Yeah, all right. Well, Nathan, let's go into some of the stock specifics then. What did you like? What did you not like?
I'll look at as you mentioned, a few bellwethers in their sector. We've seen James Hardie is getting hammered again today. I mean, it's probably one of the best construction player business exposures for the US, predominantly the US business. And they've had multiple downgrades. They made an acquisition the market didn't like, and they delivered another downgrade, and the market is absolutely going after it. And this is probably one of the quality stocks that people used to buy and hold. And this is what happens when things change and the strategy change and the model changes. So James Hardie still remains in the dog box, and I think the market is still trying to work out what the outlook is. And that's on the negative side. But on the positive side, things like Codan, who's gone from, I think it's about a year and a half, it's run from $4 to $25 and had a great day. And it's got, the management is so good at evolving the business, and they've gone from being a gold metal detector to now adding defensive telecommunication businesses to the model. So it's done really well. And then you've got Super Retail, as you said, had a good bounce today. Look, this is a high quality retailer. These are guys who bought Rebel when it looked like a basket case, and they turned it around when the market didn't believe it. So you've got to always, keep Super Retail as one of your top tier retailers. It actually pulled back. So we've just had a bounce that pretty much takes them back to the peak. Look, I wouldn't be buying Super Retail here. This is retail sector. It is cyclical, but they are one of the best players. So they proved that again. And then you've got on the other side, you've got things coming through on, I guess we've seen with IPH. It's been one that's one for the value players. Everyone's been looking at this model because it's a unique business model. It's non-correlated to economic growth. So IP lawyers and this acquired a fair bit of business, grew out into Asia and US. And it's been on a downgrade cycle for years. We're still waiting for the bottom, man. And they're finding more downgrades. This is the problem in this market. You pick something for a turnaround story, you want to hope that they first deliver an upgrade before you jump in, because if they deliver a downgrade, and another example today is Sonic Healthcare. The market expectations was above what they guided, and they didn't deliver to those expectations and got hammered. It's down 10%. It's not a huge issue. Exactly the same thing happened in March, and the stock recovered. I suspect it'll recover again. But it is a tough market. It just, stock picking is very hard in the market. So you just got to have a portfolio sense and manage your risk.
All right, speaking of managing risk, Nathan, how are you positioning, or how do you expect people should be positioning ahead of Jackson Hole? What are we going to get out of this symposium?
Yeah, that's going to be fascinating because the market had almost 100% probability of a rate cut about a week ago, and it's now down to about 82% in a week because we had basically core consumer and manufacturing inflation beat expectations and go above 3%. The Fed is targeting 2%. The White House is attacking everyone in the panel for the Fed. So in theory, there is a risk for the rate cut. I think the September cut, they don't really surprise. So you would think that that's going to go through. The question the market's waiting for is their guidance onto the next cut, because the market expects at least one more cut this year. Now, if inflation is going up, and the minutes that came out last night suggest that they think the inflation is going to go up pretty soon. And, we just heard that PlayStation 5 has just gone up 10% because of tariffs. So these are, real life problems, right? So that's going to flow through. And if inflation is going up, I think the rate cuts will be curbed. And that's why the White House is attacking the Fed. So if that's the case, if we get any of that hint at the Jackson Hole symposium, the market will wobble. I used to work out of Laramie, Wyoming, where Jackson Hole is. Let me tell you, nobody cares about Laramie, Wyoming any other time apart from this time of the year.
Yeah. All right, Nathan, we'll catch you on the other side. Thank you, as always, Nathan Somasundaram from Deep Data Analytics. Well, of course, it really was about all the reaction to these earnings. And I mentioned Goodman Group was actually a laggard. It was the stock of the day on the call. Goodman Group returning to growth with stat profit coming in at $1.67 billion compared with a loss of $98.9 million in full year 24. Mark Gardner from MPC Markets, Howard Coleman from Team Invest weighed in with their thoughts.
one of the first stocks we bought on that in that Liberation Day dip. We sort of got around the $27, $28 mark or thereabouts. And look, to be honest, I'm surprised at the price action today. Overall, data center space is super hot. I think this month or it's next month, construction of data centers in the US will outpace construction of offices in the US now.
Goodness.
Which is just absolutely huge.
You've really got to put a lot of work into understanding this business, and it's not the kind of thing I have an instant ability for, so I've passed. But from a team invest point of view, I think you'd find most of the members would say it's a buy.
All right, well, a record high, as we mentioned. Let's have a look at some of the leaders that helped get us there this Thursday. Terrible weather in Sydney, but a great day on the ASX Super Retail there after its results. As we mentioned, a record high. Vault Minerals, also a very solid session. Brambles up by some 13%. It's also announced that share buyback. Codan bigger. So very much the market liked those results. The laggards, though, were IPH, that was on that US patent concern. Sonic Healthcare, James Hardie, subject to some broker moves as well. In the small end of town, the winners included Tria, which was up an impressive 36%, and Ausgold next in line, up 23%. To the downside, though, in today's session, Calio Resources, whoa, I wonder what happened there, down 93%. Kinetico Energy down by some 14%. Tonight, quite a bit out. UK and EU PMIs for August, as well as US, expected potentially to ease from last month. Also, existing home sales could fall by 0.8%. Of course, that concern about the housing outlook is what's been weighing on James Hardie, which generates a lot of its revenue from the US. And we also get some earnings, including Walmart, and of course, the Jackson Hole Symposium begins. Tomorrow, locally, it's pretty quiet, but we do have Helia and Zip coming through with earnings. Zip up by 3% ahead of that result. So let's recap where the market finished, up 1.1%. The best day we've had in more than 2 weeks. So a fresh record high coming through, and I just want to check whether or not the ASX 200 has finished above 9,000. Yes, it has. So not only surpassing through 9,000 for the first time, but holding above that level on the close as well. 101 points added to the market today on the ASX 200, or 1.1% to 9,019. So bulls are very much in charge. Let's see what happens on Wall Street overnight and where we start the session on Friday. We'll be back from 9:45 a.m. Eastern. We'll see you then.
The COB is brought to you by Montgomery Investment Management. The world is volatile. Your financial future doesn't have to be. Find out more at montinvest.com.